ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 8th Annual Vanderhaar Symposium. We have a special request for those of you who are sitting on the sides with sort of empty seats. If you could move in, particularly if any other people come in, can you kind of slide in to give them an opportunity to sit down comfortably. And we also, I'm not a modernist. If you have a cell phone on, please turn it off or turn it on vibrate. But thank you. And again, welcome to the Vanderhaar Symposium. Jerry Vanderhaar was an internationally recognized scholar and theologian. He was a beloved teacher at Christian Brothers University. But he was also a practical activist, deeply committed to bringing peace and justice to Memphis, his adopted hometown. It is thus fitting that tonight we honor in his name students past and present who have found powerful ways to improve this community, and that we come together to hear our panelists, groundbreakers, each and every one, building a society of justice, peace, and fruitful lives for all. Jerry would have been truly proud of this occasion, and he would have been glad to see us all here. In his name, I welcome you. Now, we will have greetings from our host institution by Dr. Evelyn McDonald and an opening prayer from Monsignor Albert Kirk.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to welcome you to Christian Brothers University for Dr. John Smorelli Jr. The president unfortunately had an engagement that took him out of town, so he's very sorry that he couldn't be here. But he thought that I wouldn't say anything too outrageous, so he would let me speak in his place. I was just thinking, with white smoke yesterday in Rome and a pope that travelled on the bus rather than the papal car, it's kind of a good day in the neighbourhood, don't you think? And what better place to come than your Catholic University in Memphis. Here at Christian Brothers University, we're very thrilled and proud to be able to host the Vanderhaar Symposium. Dr. Vanderhaar, I knew him when he was a professor here, and it's a real honour for us to be able to host this. Tonight's topics are so germane to what is going on in society today. So I'm very pleased to be able to welcome Malik, Gabriela, Delvin, and one of our graduates, whom I haven't seen for a while, Kyle. So it's very nice to have them here. I think we have a wonderful program ahead of us, so relax, enjoy. Don't put your minds on rest, but sharpen them up, because I think we'll have some great dialogues here. So welcome. And I'd like to invite Monsignor Al Kirk to open our meeting with a prayer. Thank you.
The Christian Brothers have a lovely tradition of remembering when we gather that we are in the holy presence of God. And so let's do that. Loving God, we praise you for your love, which has brought us into being and which has surrounded our lives this day. We are grateful that we are citizens of your kingdom living under your reign. You establish your church as a sacrament of your salvation. We pray for our newly elected Pope Francis and ask that you make him a powerful instrument of your justice and peace in the world. We thank you for the insight and courage which enabled Dr. Gerard Vanderhaar to live and teach nonviolent peacemaking. Enable us to be faithful to his memory. Make us ambassadors of peace within our own families and neighborhoods, within our wider community, and even to the ends of the earth. Bless all students, those here present, and especially those we honor tonight. Help them to discover that nonviolent peacemaking is your way to overcome tensions, disagreements, even our sins. We praise you for the giftedness of our panel. Inspire us to learn from them. Allow us to catch their passion for justice and peacemaking in our community. May our numbers here be multiplied many times over, creating a tidal wave of concern and friendship which will overcome every conflict and unite our community in bonds of compassion and love. We ask this of you, God of the covenant, Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, bestower of the Spirit. We say together, Amen.
Each year at the Vanderhaar Symposium, we honor students who have contributed richly to our community through their peace and justice work. We had an excellent slate of candidates this year, truly excellent one, and to introduce and present the award to our first place finalist is our friend and colleague from Rhodes College, Dr. Luther Ivory. Dr. Ivory.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. There you go. That's it. That's what I'm waiting for. It's a pleasure to be in your presence today. I want to say to all the finalists who were in competition for this award, you graced us with your work of service, and you've left a legacy for us, a footprints for us to follow. I'm here to introduce and present the award to Franklin Dakin. We call him Frankie D at Rhodes College, and in view of his presence of his mother and his father, we also are glad that you gave to us Franklin Dakin. You can read his bio and you can see that the hallmark of a person who's an achiever is that they seem to be doing an awful lot in 24 hours. And that is certainly the case with Franklin Dakin, whether he's working on a psychological research project, or he's working with bridges to try to bridge interracial strife or into multicultural strife or multicultural reconciliation as a vision, or whether he's with Sigma Nu, or whether he's just with the crusty old professor reading something out of Bonhoeffer or Martin Luther King Jr. It's where I first met him. We were reading a curious little text called Life Together by Bonhoeffer. It was curiously, Franklin Dakin and I was discussing this text. Bonhoeffer says, most of us, we get communities and we want to be with people who look like us, walk like us, talk like us, think like us. But the challenge of growth is not to be a one-dimensional woman or one-dimensional man. It is to expose yourself to diversity of thought, a diversity of perspective, schools of thought. This is the way around the individual. After that conversation, Franklin, I looked up and he had enrolled in a course on nonviolent options with Dr. King. So we studied that for maybe about 11, 14 weeks. I was concerned about Franklin because Franklin is a person that has so many balls up in the air. He's trying to do so much, and he's also trying to put his activism on the ground. So it's not just theory or theory. And I appreciate it about him, and I appreciated him for the struggle. You know, it's a struggle to try to balance theory and practice. That's a struggle. It's not always done cleanly. It is performance art, and it is an art form. There's no science to it. And I marvel at looking at Franklin and how he tried to do this as well. When you read his biography, you realize that he's a political economist, and he also has run for a public office. He was successful in that. I remember when I ran for school president and was soundly defeated. And I didn't think I was going to even come back for my 12th grade year, but I mustered up enough courage for me to encourage to come back and graduate. Well, here's a person at 19 that is looking at his community, asking himself what I can do, and he runs for office and wins. And in the bio, it just tells us that, shares with us that he's the youngest office holder in the state of Tennessee. Once Maya Angelou said something that I'm reminded of tonight. She said, in the presence of greatness, the air crackles with excitement, and so I know we're snap, crackling, and popping here today because we got a lot of greatness around us. I'm just gonna breathe it in and get a contact high on greatness. Y'all can do it along with me if you want. This is a good contact high, not the other contact high. Y'all feel what I'm saying? All right. As we present this award to Franklin's father, and his father and mother are here, I want you to know that his service is ongoing. What is the organic intellectual? The organic intellectual who can consistently link the active life of the mind in service to personal redemption and the transformation of public institutions. And that is what Franklin Dakin has modeled for us in a few years. You know, you can get a lot done if you don't care who gets the credit. And Franklin at 19 has modeled for those of us who are older, the 60-year-old and 50-year-olds, who have to now give credit to him for how he has in fact led us. If a work is first begun, never quit until it's done. Be your labor great or small, do it well or not at all. And that sums up Franklin Dakin. So, Franklin Dakin, who's in the Dominican Republic, I don't even know a Dominican Republic in New York. He's in the Dominican Republic, and he's a Bonner Scholar. And what a Bonner Scholar is that they're focused on service. I mean, they're trying to put this activism on the ground, and I'm sure he's there in some service project, which is top secret. I don't know what he's doing. I don't think his father or mother does. He'll tell me all about it if he doesn't email me before he gets back. So I want you to put your hands together as his father comes to receive this award on behalf of Franklin Dakin, the Gerald Vanderhaar Student Peace Recipient Award. Mr. Dakin, thank you so much.
I'll be very quick. It's pretty hard to follow Dr. Ivory. I see now why my son spoke so highly about him. But as with most young people, my son, we're pretty much the last ones to know about things a lot of times. So he asked me to come tonight, or asked us to come and receive that award. He would be very proud to be here tonight. He understands his responsibilities, and I know this is bothering him that he could not be here, but he's on a service trip to the Dominican Republic. And all I really know is that he's been doing some building and supposedly helping with some of the schools and teaching English. So that's what I know. We haven't been able to speak to him since then, but I know he really wanted to be here tonight. He knows that there are a lot of great young people in our community that are working hard to make a difference. I see that firsthand a lot because I do teach in the Memphis City school system. So as a retired Army guy, he's very proud of what he does, and he's proud to be awarded this award tonight. So I want to thank everybody, all the speakers tonight. I ran into a couple people I think I know actually. So I really appreciate it. Dr. Ivory, once again, thank you. He really spoke highly of you. And Mrs. Vanderhaar, thank you very much for your husband's service. So thank you.
And I know that a lot of the credit for the fine work that their son does goes to Mr. and Mrs. Dakin. Thank you both for joining us tonight. We had, as I mentioned earlier, quite a remarkable group of finalists for this year's award. A remarkable group of nominees and a remarkable group of finalists. And we want tonight to acknowledge the other finalists for this award, and we have a check for them as well. And Dr. Jose Davila, who does a wonderful job chairing the Student Nominations and Awards Committee, has checks for them. As I call your name, if you're here, would you please come forward to receive your check? The first of the finalists, alphabetically, is Janelle Adams, a Rhodes College student who has worked to be a change agent for peace and justice. Is Ms. Adams here tonight? She had a transformative experience in Senegal and has since been active and engaged in raising some of the boundaries between the refugee and the other communities in the city. She's working with pre-kindergarten children now, and she's also researching the stories and experiences of refugee women and children to help nonprofits and faith institutions to help empower the refugee community. Our congratulations to her. Now you may think that I don't know my alphabet because all of the others are way down at the end of the alphabet. We had an Adams, and now we have Aisha Wesley. Is Aisha here tonight? I thought I saw her. Active in a wide range of community activities, Moynihan College student, yay, Aisha Wesley has particularly made an impact on issues of domestic abuse. She responded with empowering responsibility to the tragic loss of one of our community at Lemoyne, a fellow student who we lost through violence. So Aisha led in building programs of awareness, education, mentoring, and prevention to the campus and to the community as well. She's also worked to help troubled teenagers develop personal skills and work development skills, and she has provided goods and food to those in need. We want to congratulate her for her very broad service, and to the young lady who is with her to support her. Amanda Wilhite. Amanda is honored for her creative leadership in helping to establish active, open communication on issues of gender identity on the Christian Brothers campus. She's helped to found the Safe Zone on the campus and the Gay Straight Alliance to offer opportunities for training, discussion about issues and challenges around issues of gender and sex orientation, and working to provide a welcoming environment for all. She's a senior honors student with other kinds of activities too broad to even mention in this short time. Congratulations to Amanda. William Zachary. Obviously very popular young man, with a focus on volunteer work to help those with needs in northern Mississippi. William Zachary has been actively involved with the Sacred Heart Southern Missions during his high school years and his college years at Christian Brothers University. He's helped to build homes and facilities for the handicapped, provide needed foodstuffs, and to lead adult service groups. He's also helped to raise funds for philanthropies during his tenure here at the university, and he intends to continue his active service role after he graduates this year, wherever his life may take him, and I'm sure he will. And this year we thought it was an excellent time for us to reflect a little on the continuing work and William Zachary's commitment to his future work. That always happens, I'm sorry. To his future work, because we have had wonderful student award nominees, and they have all fully justified our faith in them, because every one of them has continued to be rich contributors to our community. And so tonight, we particularly want to honor all of them. Their names are listed on the program. We want to acknowledge those that are here. I know Keone Logan is here. Keone, would you stand, please? Keone was a 2011 student awardee with multiple community contributions. She was recognized largely for organizing programs to feed the homeless, provide support for teenage victims of abuse, and to mentor single parents. All this while she was a student, a wife, and a mother of 4. Keone is currently working at her alma mater, Lemoyne Owen, as she prepares to attend law school in the fall. Samantha,
it happened.
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Samantha Bones, Christian Brothers graduate. She received the 2012 Student Award for her creative leadership in international justice. And in support of Uganda, she organized the Bolathon to raise funds for a nonprofit in that nation, and she founded Visible Campus to collect books for Ugandan schools. Hoping to be a medical doctor, she's currently an intern at the Church Health Center. Are there any? No. Again, the full list of names is on your program, and we honor all of our. One of them isn't here because she's having a baby, which is a wonderful contribution. So they are all doing wonderful and exciting things. Now we have the opportunity to meet our panelists, all of whom are actively engaged in helping this community to solve the many challenges it faces. We're going to do the panel. We're going to go down the table going just this way. I'm going to introduce each panelist. I'm known to be feisty. I don't know why, but I will. We're going to have 10 minutes for them to speak. I will start getting noisy. I can pick up the cane if I need to, but they will have 10 minutes. We will go through the whole panel. If we have time at the end, and only if we have time at the end, we will have some questions. But we want to give all our panelists an opportunity to speak. Our first panelist to my left is Delvin Lane. He's been selected by Mayor A.C. Wharton to join in the vital effort to face the violence which has been scarring our city.
That's not me. I'm feisty too.
I'm going, yeah. I'm sorry. But that is what's wrong with Delvin Lane. No, I am so sorry. This is not Delvin Lane, just as last year Leo Arnold was not me, if any, some of you know what that means. I am so sorry. I apologize. Anyway, Mr. Lane is a member of the Mayor's Innovation. See, I was scared of him because he's a member of the Mayor's Committee. I thought, he's a member of the Mayor's, in all seriousness, he's a member of the Mayor's Innovative Delivery Team to reduce gun violence among our youth. A former gang member, he wants to work with young people to help others find the self-transformation that he achieved. He's a graduate of Booker T. Washington High School and the University of Memphis. And his wife, I believe, teaches at Booker T. Washington, does she not? So Mr. Lane is going to talk about what he's doing and how we as a community can support that effort. Mr. Lane.
Thank you. I actually will let him take credit for being me because he looks a lot better than I do. So, well, my name is Delvin Lane. It's definitely a pleasure to be here on the behalf of the Mayor's Innovation Delivery Team and the Memphis Gun Down Plan. One of my colleagues, Lonnie Galden, is here with me, and we have a team called the 901 Block Squad. Block stands for Better Lives, Opportunities, and Communities. And what we simply do is go to the streets of Memphis, a targeted place in Frazier and also a targeted place in South Memphis, and build relationships with the guys on the streets, the high-risk youth, and these guys are anywhere from 13 to 24 years old. The cop stats in those areas tell us that 96% of gun violent crimes are happening with guys aged 13 to 24 that's African American. It's sad. We definitely have a social problem. And I feel so connected to this because I once was a guy that caused some of these problems. I was recruited as a young kid. I started selling crack when I was 11 years old. Became a gang member, became a gang leader in the Foot and Claver Homes area and caused a lot of problems. Most of our conflicts come just off basic necessities. Our kids don't know how to deal with conflict. They argue, and what is over a woman or over a pair of shoes, and it escalates to Facebook, and it leads to a fight, then it leads to guns. With Tennessee being an open carry state, what that means is you can have permits to tote weapons. Guns are very accessible to our citizens. So with law-abiding citizens like yourselves, go to the courthouse where you can't take your gun in, somebody might break in your car and steal it. And so now you have kids running around the city with a cell phone in one pocket and a pistol in the other pocket. And then when a conflict arises between two of them, we end up having a shooting. And so as we speak, we have wars going on in our streets right now. And so me and my team has taken on the task, and the news kind of cornered me last night and said, we had 10 shootings in 4 days. We hired you guys to stop the shootings. Why are people getting shot? So I was like, wow. And so I just told her, give me a cape and a superhero title and we can go and change the world. But in all seriousness, we need audiences like this. We need the churches. We need the schools. We need bridges and all the organizations around the city to continue to speak peace into our kids. Memphis should be the hub of peace. We lost Dr. King right here on our streets because he fought for peace. Or the sanitation workers fought for peace. The churches fought for peace. And so this city is known for solving that problem, whether it be racial, whether it be black on black crime, whether it be drugs, whatever it is, we have to come up with a resolution to have safe places or safe zones so these young babies and kids can grow up and play in the park without getting hit by a straight bullet. We're working a case with a 15-year-old boy was killed back in 2009, shot multiple times in his chest area, fell on the ground, and was crawling to get away from his killer. And they pumped a slug in the back and finished him off. The kid was 15 that died, the kid that was 17 that shot him. There's something wrong with this picture. And so as we continue to try to develop ways and strategies to bring these kids to a place where they can grow up and be kids and not have to worry about being shot and killed, we as adults have to come together first. This city has a lot of organizations, a lot of resources, but everybody's doing it individually. If we come together and share this task, we can change our city. We've all heard the slogan, it takes the whole village. Well, at what point will we, the village, start believing in that and take a stand for peace and the life of our kids? Thank you.
I've just had an offer, so I'll move down the table, and we'll come back to Mr. Shaw. We'll let him close out. That will be his honor. Okay. Kyle Kordsmeier, who's at the other end of the table, is the organizing director for Workers Interfaith Network. He approaches the issues of the city with equal commitment and imagination, but from a different vantage point. He's been a long-term community organizer in Memphis. He's worked on issues of diversity and labor rights and hopes to engage a wide variety of constituencies and agencies to build a more just and welcoming community. Mr. Kordsmeier.
I just want to say it's really great to be back at CBU and see some of my old professors from 7 years ago, and I'm not in jail. And as you can see, I made it. So thank you very much. I caused a few problems or debates around here, I think, when I was here. So it's really good to be back and welcomed so well by all of you. I had the honor of knowing Jerry and he always told me to call him Jerry, not Dr. Vanderhaar or anything, but for knowing him for 2 years, and mostly when he was giving me rides because my car kept breaking down. And I remember meeting he and Janice at, I think at the time I referred to it as a hippie peace event, and I didn't really know why I went or why I was there. But eventually Jerry helped me figure out why, I guess. And after talking with him in the car one day, I remember he always had a lesson for me, you know, after we got done talking, and it always, you know, stuck with me. But one time he said, "Wow, you really sound political." And I never really thought of myself as political. And I said, "Yeah, I guess I am." He said, "Just don't lead with that." And so that's a lesson I've always kind of taken to heart, and you know, thought about reaching out to different people I agree with, people I don't agree with, on a lot of different issues, and it's really carried me a lot further than you know, being combative. And you know, he's always been one to teach everyone, I think, that ever spoke with him. And I'm also honored to work at Workers Interfaith Network. When I was here as a student, this Reverend Guinap came into our classroom, and she started talking about workers' rights and labor justice from a Christian perspective. And growing up in Arkansas, this is something I didn't really know much about. I didn't think of it. I didn't think of labor and what we do every day as something that was necessarily a moral issue or a theological issue, or you know, I never really thought wow, why do we have a 40-hour work week? And why do we have a weekend where we can enjoy our family? And why do people want really good benefits? Why do we want all of these things, and why are they necessary? And since we're in, I guess, 10 years now running at Workers Interfaith Network, we've going on 11, our Rebecca and the coalition passed the living wage law in 2006 and 2007, which means that all local contracts with the government have to pay a living wage, not just a minimum wage. So it's about $11.62 an hour with benefits, right? Okay. Can you hear me now? Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I could hear me. So since then, we started the Workers Center, and every Thursday night at 6 o'clock, we have a workers' rights meeting for anyone that has experienced the labor abuse that week at work. And a lot of times, the majority of the time, we have people that experience wage theft, where they're not being paid all the wages they're supposed to be. It could be overtime hours. A lot of you college kids like me work in restaurants or worked in restaurants, and you don't get those tips sometimes. Sometimes when you pay on the credit card, a lot of those tips actually don't make it to the worker. Or sometimes when you're tipping in the jar even, and trying to help the person at the front out, they don't get those tips. And then at the end of the night, a lot of times, they'll ask a waiter to pay off some of those tips to the back because they're not paying them right and taking more out of your pocket to try and pay their workers just to get by. We have a lot of discrimination and issues that we need to address as a community, and especially in restaurants. We have a lot of people that, the front of the house is one race and the back of the house is another race. We have a day labor corner here. How many of you knew about that in Memphis? Where day laborers meet every morning just hoping to find work, right? So people will come up to them and bid as low as they can, right? And they'll bid against each other sometimes to just get a couple of dollars for the day. They may work for a week with the promise of getting paid those wages, and at the end of the week, they don't get them. But we work with the Day Labor Corner. We go out there every week, and we try and pass out flyers and let people know about their rights. And a lot of people, in the labor community say, why do you work with the Latino community, and why are you trying to organize them? And really, we have to look at it holistically and say, if these people don't have rights, if we're not taking care of everyone in our community, how can we expect to have rights? And how can we expect to have justice and dignity? So a lot of our work isn't political, but this year we tried to pass a wage theft ordinance locally to go after some of these employers, these chronic and habitual abusers of laborers in our city. And it's really unfair to those good businesses out there that are paying their people right and are taking care of people in our community, because when people steal wages, they have extra money to go and advertise, they have extra money to expand, they have extra money to offer discounts and coupons, and these other businesses can't compete with that. And we've had one restaurant where every couple of months we get workers in from it. And back when I was in college, there was only one restaurant, and now there's 5 set up around town. So this is an epidemic, unfortunately, that we've tried to slow down. And now with the state legislature, today they passed a bill in the Congress or the House, and it's going to go to the Senate next week, trying to get rid of our local living wage laws and also our anti-wage theft ordinance. So unfortunately, it looks like the work that we've done the last 10 years is going to be set back, but we are hopeful that with people like you, with people in our community, we're going to stand up and fight back for all the individuals that have cases, and we're going to keep pushing forward, and we're going to push for positive solutions. And I just want to say thanks again to the Christian Brothers and to Jerry and Janice for touching me in so many different ways, but really just shaping my worldview and changing my worldview. Thank you.
We promised you a great panel, and we've got 2 more to go that are going to be equally good. Gabriela Benitez, born in Mexico. She's lived in Memphis from the age of 6. Her family has faced the many hard challenges of the immigrant community, including the possible deportation of her father and her own undocumented status while she was a student. She's a dedicated change agent as the West Tennessee organizer for the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition. Gabby?
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be part of this panel, and I'm excited to be, looks like, a female part of this panel. So I'm blessed among several great men. But I do want to put it out there for the women and see the work that we're doing out here in the state of Tennessee as well. So I am the West Tennessee organizer for Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition, and as you've heard, I have been in this country since I was 6 years old. I was raised in the Mid-South. I grew up in Memphis and later graduated from Northwest high schools, which are interesting to see. I graduated from South Haven High School. And as I was growing up, so many things happened in my family and in my household, but it wasn't until I was getting to the junior and 12th grade that it really hit me home how important 9 digits in this country are, right? As I was applying for a couple of colleges, and a couple of classmates were really excited and asking where I was going to apply and what I was going to do, I started looking at these college applications, and there was a 9-digit blank that I had to fill out, and fortunately I sent it in blank because I didn't have those 9 digits. And then came back those letters saying that I couldn't attend that college because I lacked those 9 digits, right? So that's where I discovered, or that's where I understood, because I knew I was undocumented, but that's where it really hit me of how it's going to impact my life. Then I started getting involved with this organization, Turk, because I heard about the DREAM Act. And the DREAM Act, Development, Relief, and Education for Alien Minors Act, would be a piece of legislation that would allow undocumented students to be able to go to college and or to go to the military if that was the choice for 2 years, providing a pathway to citizenship. This piece of legislation has been around for about 11 years now and still hasn't seemed to pass on as a law. So I heard about the DREAM Act and I said, okay, what can I do? What can I do to get this passed so that I can go to school next year? And I went over to Turk and they gave me this stack of petitions and they said, get these petitions signed. First time I ever saw a petition, didn't know what it was about. I said, okay, if I get this petition signed, the DREAM Act is going to pass. So I went around in my cafeteria and my classmates and my teachers and I gave them the spiel about the DREAM Act, and while I was giving the spiel about the DREAM Act, they knew about my status. Something that throughout, the years, something that I just never shared, particularly with my classmates or my teachers. And so it was really, to me, that was an experience, and to see their faces and their reactions to say, you're undocumented, you don't have papers, but you speak English. But I've known you since 6th grade. And that was a reality that it was a learning experience both for me and for my classmates and my school and my professors. So I was really excited because I got this stack of petitions signed. And I called Tarek and I said, I got my petition signed. Is the DREAM Act going to pass? Fortunately, that was not the situation. But I was able, through this petition drive and through sharing my story, or what we call now coming out of the shadows, coming out as undocumented, I was able to get a little Underground Railroad support system of my own, which gratefully and thanks to God, I was able to go to college. And just when I was giving up and thinking, this 12th grade graduation, me walking across the stage with cap and gown is going to be the last time I am able to walk across that stage, because of that Underground Railroad was not the reality. So I was able to attend to a local community college and later on to the University of Memphis, and I've graduated. But while but in that time, I didn't give up with the petitions because I saw how important the movement was growing across the country, and I saw how my classmates were growing up to be leaders and to get involved, in particular with the DREAM Act. However, when I was in transition from community college to the university, when I thought that the problem was just with undocumented youth, I got another kind of flash to reality, and that was when we got a phone call from my father saying that he was detained. And probably you guys that are in this room that hear me talk my story, I always cry, and so I'm trying not to get to that point today. But yeah, so I was able to see, and my family was able to feel what it, knowing that my dad had been detained by a simple traffic stop, and what that was going to mean for our family because, again, of the lack of those 9 digits. So my dad was put in the back of a police car, but immediately was transferred to immigration because of his status, him being here for about 10 years, having all citizen children except for myself, and just living a life already here in the country, was going to be sent back. So he was in a detention center for about a month and a half. I'm the oldest, and the youngest of my siblings is 8 years old, so he didn't really know what was going on at that time. And that's when I realized it's not just about me, it's not just about my education, it's about families that are living through this every day. And in this country, there are 1,100 families that are being separated on an everyday basis. More than 400,000 families have been separated in 1 year. And through the Obama administration, more than 1 million people have been deported. Record history. This is something that a lot of our people, a lot of our community, a lot of our classmates, a lot of our co-workers, a lot of our bosses don't know about. And that's the reality that we are facing, particularly here in Tennessee as well. This is an area that sees the most immigration rates, along with other southern cities of the United States, than anywhere across the country. And our job here at Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition is to educate and empower the community for them to stand up and come out. For you to hear that story. For you to see that these people that are being deported and that are being separated are human beings. And because the word illegal is being put out in the media, dehumanizing those individuals, and the passage of these hateful laws is something that we want to stop. So I work in particular with the immigrant community, with the Latino community, but Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition is a statewide coalition that's also 10 years old. And we work in particular also with the refugee community. And I think that has created a different bond because we're able to see in particular with our Muslim brothers and sisters also the kind of hate that they are facing. In our state legislature, we not only are seeing laws that are taking away living wages, but we're also seeing laws that are separating and deporting families, but we're also seeing laws that are keeping away from religious freedom. And that's something that we're working together on so that we can see together more the similarities in our different communities rather than the differences, so that we can really empower ourselves and stand up for ourselves. So that's a little bit about it.
I think a lot of us wanted to pull out the tissues and to try to, and one of the goals tonight is for us all to communicate our own experiences so that we can share what's going on. Now this is really Malik Shaw. And he recently hosted a youth conference entitled Living Life with a Purpose. and he embodies that excellent ideal. As vice principal of the Pleasant View Islamic School, he teaches history and Islamic studies, and he's also executive director of the American Muslim Intercultural Network. He brings a rich background to his educational and community work, having served in Detroit and Phoenix schools, where he developed student service programs. As a project supervisor for the Superior Court of Arizona, he taught parenting and teenage life skills classes. He's an author and a consultant working to develop stronger parental engagement and enhanced educational programs. A leader in his faith community and one who reaches out to all. Mr. Shaw is an American convert to Islam. Mr. Malik Shaw.
All right, good evening. Good evening. I don't like using microphones because I have 5 offspring and a young boy who's pretty raucous. So I don't normally like using microphones. I'm going to jump around here, I guess. I'll talk about I don't know what to talk about first. Education is my thing, to be honest with you. I'll give you a little bit about the organization we created. It's called Amin, and we have 5 goals, but the 2 that are in kind of correlation with what we talk about tonight is, one is about kind of civic engagement. We have, within our religious tradition, we have this idea that the best of human beings are the ones who serve the children of Adam. That we have a duty to be of service to the people, because we all have this collective brotherhood and sisterhood. I went to Catholic school in Detroit, so this is kind of a coming home moment here, I guess. That we have a collective brotherhood and sisterhood. And that's one of our goals as an organization, is to serve our brothers and sisters in humanity. The second one is for that people of I'm a convert to Islam, and a lot of the other co-founders are converts, and what we wanted to do was kind of help our immigrant brothers and sisters by putting an American face on Islam. Because what's happening with our immigrant brothers here is it's the other kind of treatment, that you're not from here. You got Islam's kind of a foreign thing. While we know Islam's been here essentially before Columbus. So part of our organization is to kind of show the indigenizing Islam in America. And kind of create a healthy, one of the things we want to do is kind of create a healthy culture. Because what we have right now, our culture, as I was listening to Dr. King's speech earlier, and he said we need to rediscover lost values. And we've lost our kind of moral compass here lately, and that's probably what we're going to be talking about some of these issues, is that we need a kind of a moral revolution. Now, we've kind of become, really consumerized. We've given up some of our humanity, and educationally, I'll switch over to my education hat right now. What I like to do in education is to go back to the Latin term of educare, which means to bring out what's in you. That God put something great inside of you, and our job as a teacher is to bring it out. So it can't just be about academics. It has to be about the formulation of a human being. Because you can have intelligent people without having a moral basis, and they become, corrupt members of society because they use that intellect in the wrong way. So at the school and working with young people, we want to show young people, they're part of the solution, because sometimes you get lost. You don't have a why when you're young. You're kind of young. I can't do anything. We have one term we don't use when we deal with young people is the word teenager. I tell them that's a created word. It didn't exist in the history of human beings. Once you hit 14, you're considered an adult. And I think we have to begin to believe in young people that they do have the potential to do the things. Admiral David Farragut was 12, fighting the revolution, captured a British ship. We all know the story of Ben Franklin, Jefferson, Washington. These people, young people, have the potential to do a great deal of things to benefit the city if we just mentor them, coach them up, and then let them loose. Just let them go. Because everybody wants to be great. And as Dr. King said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. So we have to put them in a position to serve, and they start to see themselves as a part of the solution instead of a part of the problem. Because if I ask all of you, when I say teenager, most of you would say something negative. Sleeps late, bad attitude, like something this and that. When in a sense, that's their time, that youth and that vigor and that courage to go out and change the world. When I was young, I thought I could change the world, as we probably all did. We have to capture that and put them in a position to do those things. So I won't talk long. I'm kind of long-winded, so I'll stop there, and we can get to the dialogue part.
And indeed, we do have some opportunity for rich dialogue. As we can see, we have different perspectives, but we have kind of shared goal of openness, communication, and trying together to face the problems that we all share. So given that, we have time for dialogue. I'm going to ask that as you identify yourself, we call on you for a question, that you limit it to one question, and that we kind of focus we can address any or all of the panelists, but we do have some good time for dialogue. So who would like to start this period of discussion?
Hi.
Okay, please.
My name is Maureen O'Brien. I'm a professor here at CBU. And I have a question actually for Gabriela. And I wonder if you can just tell us, perhaps briefly, why the term illegal for illegal immigration is actually incorrect.
Did you all hear that? No. The question for Gabriela was why the term illegal has been attached to the...
Why is it incorrect?
Why is it incorrect?
Illegal. It's illegal.
Why is it, the term?
Yes, so definitely there's a campaign that's national. I'm sorry, I didn't want to knock this table down. So there's a campaign that's national that's called Drop the I Word, and this Drop the I Word campaign is out because of the fact that the national media has used the word illegal so much, right? So what we've seen in statistics is that the more often that this word is being used, the more of a hateful environment this word has created. Why? Because there's no such thing as a human being who is illegal, right? An act can be illegal, but not the human being. And although we recognize that the person who is here undocumented committed, crossed without documentation, but that fact doesn't make that person less of a human being. And so that conversation is not addressed this way in the main media. And the more that you hear the term, it just, honestly, like when I hear the term, it makes me, I feel like it's very dehumanizing. And the more often that this word is being used, we've seen the statistics, the amount of violence that it has risen, that it has increased. In particular, in 2006, where we saw a lot of, in 2006, 2010, where we started seeing a lot of these hateful anti-immigrant laws come about, we also started seeing a very high increase of violence against immigrants, or those who seem to be foreign. And there's a lot of evidence, in particular, there's one case of an Ecuadorian who is from New York, who was bashed by 3-4 teenagers, or young adults, who when bashing him were calling him, "You Mexican, you illegal, go home, da 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 da." So that's because of what is being spinning off in the media, and not only that, but also our own politicians, right? So that's definitely a word that we want to get rid of. And so if that's the term that you've been using, we ask you that to drop the I word, right? And the term would be undocumented immigrant. But just having that consciousness, and thank you for asking the question of why. Thank you.
Any other questions? There's one toward...
Hi, I am Jeff Gross. I'm also a professor here at CBU. And I have a comment and a question for Kyle. In talking about wage-stealing businesses and restaurants, and all of us being aware that our state legislature is more likely to take 3 steps backwards before they take 1 forward on these issues. What are some things that we can do as engaged citizens to put pressure on these restaurants? One thing that I was heartened about recently were restaurants like Applebee's, Papa John's, the Darden Enterprises restaurants. Their brand popularity went way down when the left media started talking about them threatening to cut employees' hours and take away health care. So does your organization release restaurant names or other ways we can work together to put pressure on these restaurants? Like, we won't go there unless you stop stealing wages. Again, what have you done?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. I'll just try and be loud if you can all hear me. Thank you for the question. Darden, as you know, owns Olive Garden, right? A lot of these different chain restaurants. And it actually depends on whether or not the restaurant wanted to negotiate with us after we contacted them. This restaurant that I'm speaking of that now has 5, I actually can't legally name it because of a contract I've signed with them with the last workers, right? So until I get another case and they're not willing to negotiate, I can't release that information. But yes, the ones that are not willing to negotiate, we might be in the paper one week, or we might be in front of your restaurant having a picket, or bringing clergy members and community members to say, this isn't right, this isn't fair, you owe this worker. We've had one worker in Mississippi who was owed over 1.5 years worth of wages. He was working for chips and tips, literally. So that was about $30,000 that he was owed in wages. And we actually won in court. And after we won in court, the government says, actually, he owes us first. So, because he owes a lot of back taxes. So he's paying off those taxes first, and the worker still, to this day, hasn't received compensation, right? So what we try and do as an organization is we take in the worker's case, and we let them know that it's their case. It's not something I'm gonna just do for them, but after these workers have put in the time of creating their proofs and getting their case together and us helping them with that process, then if it comes down to they don't want to negotiate, and do you want to do a campaign? If the worker agrees that, yeah, I want community support to get what's owed to my family, then yeah, we're going to stand out there and show solidarity with that, and we're going to try and put it in the paper, in the news, whatever we can. We had one worker, and I think a lot of these conflicts in our community actually go back down to poverty. And one of our workers, she came in and she was owed about $450. And a lot of people think that's not a lot of money. To me it is, but some of us in here don't think that. And she wasn't going to go out and wasn't going to protest because her husband just said, no, don't worry about it. We don't want to cause a scene. And she said, okay. And so we said, okay, we won't do a protest. Well, the next day she was in our office and she said, I went home and my 2 daughters, asked what was for dinner, and I looked in our fridge and all we had was bread and pickles. And so that's when I said, you know what, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get my $400. I'm gonna stand up for what's mine. And as far as what you can do is get engaged with our network. If you're not on social media, try and get on with Facebook or Twitter, and you can find out real quick about these campaigns. Some of the others we try and publicize more in the newspapers, especially if there's multiple workers where this abuse is going on quite often. But really, it's not just restaurants, it's landscaping, it's hotel workers, it's all kinds of different groups of workers that are constantly being abused and mistreated, and construction workers, And so it's important to make sure if you're contracting with someone on your house that you make sure all that money is going to go to those workers and not just to the person that you're paying to do that work, right?
Is it possible for, afterwards to, I know that you said legally you can't name the people that you're actually kind of under contract with. Can you, let us know through a list the people that we can?
That's a good question.
Reinforcement, basically.
Right. We're working on, actually this year, we're trying to plan ahead, and hopefully by the end of the year we're going to have our first Just Dining Guide that'll let people know which restaurants to do that. and also which contractors to use, which ones we know are paying people right. You know, we've got a lot of businesses came out and actually supported the wage theft ordinance because they're tired of competing with these other businesses. You know, a lot of people said, well, this is an anti-business law. Well, not for those other small businesses that want to keep everyone on the even playing field, you know. So we're hopefully going to have that done by December, but I'm running a little behind right now.
Hi, I've worked previously as an organizer in faith communities and seen firsthand how challenging it can be sometimes to work with clergy in different faith communities, and I was just curious if you all could share some of your experiences, your successes and failures trying to organize in the faith communities of Memphis around your different issues. And have you collaborated? Have you found the same priest or the same rabbi are coming to each event? So what are the challenges, what are the successes that you've had in the faith communities in Memphis?
Who would like to start? Delvin, you want to start?
You gonna start? We got the security in the room. All right. Well, I'll start. Get my back. Get my front. We good. You know, working with faith-based is both a curse and a blessing. The curse is that when you throw out the invitation, they will come, for the most part. The blessing is they will come. What I mean by that is, a lot of times when you, especially dealing with the kids in the culture that I deal with, being pretty much violent youth, they don't understand them. And I can speak for the African American church especially, because we have like 13 on one block in the inner city. They want to fix them up like little dolls and then bring them in to church them. Well, these kids, 12, 13, 14 years old, seen more than I've seen. It's going to take a different kind of strategy, not only to get them to come, but in order to keep them. And so prayer is the number one thing that we have to self-evaluate ourselves first to make sure that our house is in order before we can go pointing the finger at casting judgment and trying to assist somebody else in getting their life in line. And so we have a lot of churches in Memphis, and I don't have to tell y'all that, y'all already know. But to collaborate, it's been difficult with me, but you have to do it. Now, one thing I hadn't been able to do, and I'm starting now, is to build a relationship with the Muslim family. We have a couple guys that's on the police department that's been coming in and tutoring and having round tables with the kids, and it's been awesome and excellent. So we're trying to build that out, and we would challenge each and every one of you all to get with us so we can plug you into the life of these kids. Just simply show them what you've done in order to become the age you are now without being shot and killed. We just want to give hope to the hopeless.
So the question is about working with different religious leaders, right? I'll tell you, I'm not brownie pointing here. The Catholic community, because I think service is such a big part of the tradition, has been really helpful. What I see now within... You got the protection? What I see now within religious communities in America is sometimes I think we've lost that desire to go to the least of these and work with those people, because it is dirty work. And you know, as a friend of mine from one of the Christian communities has said, he said, look, religion and comfort don't mix. And I think right now, a lot of, you know, and myself included, because I think that's the struggle. I mean, I think that's just the struggle of just the human existence. how much do you struggle with trying to make the world a better place while at the same time seeking your own level of comfort? It's kind of this Du Boisian, double consciousness of how much do you give, but in a sense, I think, and just part of a religious community, I feel like we're failing those kids. One, by not being ethical and telling young people and young women, and this is where I do kind of have a bone to pick. I'm from Detroit, so we got 15 churches on every corner. And some of them are called First Tennessee Missionary Baptist. So my parents are from here, so they took the church up there. So I think we have to go back and teach young people ethical values. And then and to be frank, one in particular is the quickest way, when we're talking about wages, the quickest way for a young lady to get into poverty is what? Have a kid out of wedlock. And we're just not being honest about why it's so important to save yourself until you get married. Even if you just look at it sociologically and financially. And we ain't even talking about the soul part of it. We have to be honest with young people that this is a better path for you. And so sometimes in talking to religious leaders, I think that message gets stuck in the four walls. But as a Catholic student, I will say, hats off. Within our own religious community, there's some dialogue as well. I mean, we do have, I know a couple of others on the police force. We all try to do our best, but I think we really have to just dialogue with each other and say, is there more we can do to try, and particularly in the time period we live in. I have 5 kids. I don't want them cursing our generation, because that's what's going to happen. Right? Either they'll pray for you or they'll curse you.
Well, just really quickly, I think that with Tarek, we've been able to work with several of the faith institutions. A lot of it has been, in particular, obviously with the Muslim community. We have we were able to support what is called the Muslim Rapid Response team, and with that came a lot of other great organizations like the American Center for Outreach, and yeah, so we have that relationship statewide. Another group is also the Unitarian Universalists have been very also supportive. Also, obviously, the Catholic Church, particularly because that's where a lot of the Latino immigrant communities are members of. And then the Presbyterian Church has also been very helpful. So what we've been able to in the Methodist Church as well. So we've been able to really work with a lot of different churches, but I think part of it has been with really trying to put out on the table what it is that we need and what it is that they can support us with, and then if it's because there's also a lot of different issues that maybe that's something that they don't feel very comfortable supporting. So if maybe just housing is something that they can help, or maybe donations is something that they can help, or maybe just putting the word out there in communication and allowing us to speak with the members is different ways that we can contribute. So I would say that we've been very lucky to be a part of a lot of different faith institutions.
I'll try and be brief as well. As working for an interfaith organization, we work with all faiths. Rabbi Rubenstein's on our board. Sheikh Nabil has been out at a lot of protests with us, and I think he's been on our board before as well. But I get asked the question all the time, well, I don't have any faith, can I still sign up? I'm like, yeah, we still want you as well. So I think a lot of people are, maybe even turned off when they hear you're a faith-based organization, or that you, are just one faith, right? And trying to break transcend those bridges, as Jerry taught me to do, on a lot of different issues, because all of our faiths take different stances on different issues, and if we were to ask everyone in here about certain issues, we would all sound a lot different maybe than what we preach we are, depending on the issue, right? So I'll just say it, and you don't have to get my back. We've got a big problem. We had a guy build a church and didn't get paid in rural Mississippi. We've experienced pastors, quite frankly, just taking advantage of poverty and exploiting poverty. And there's ministries within this city that we need to address the issue. I think back to my uncle, and he doesn't like me anyway, so I'm going to tell. But when I was a kid, he had day laborers, and he hired a lot of them to work in his fields. But he was having his pool poured in one day by all of his friends, which were his workers. And I remember he was barbecuing, had some beer, and I said, wow, they're working on Sunday, I guess you're gonna have to pay a lot for that. And he said, oh no, they're my friends, they're just pouring it for free, and I'm just cooking out, and got them some beer, and I'm taking care of them. They got a lot more money here than they ever had back home, And I think back to that because a lot of, I think, ministers here are just happy doing that, and just happy with the bare minimum, and happy with just feeding people for a day, and happy with putting people in the slum because it's better than being on the street, and happy with just being mediocre, or not even that, just exploiting people and turning a penny off of it. So I think it's important for all of us to address it wherever we are, and within our own faith and outside of that. We need to call people out where they're at. And that's the hard thing to do a lot of times. It's not comfortable, it's not fun, it's not pretty. But if we're true believers of faith, then that's what we're called to do, and that's what we have to do.
We have some really forthright panelists. I think we have time for one more question, and I see the young
My name is Sean. I'm just curious, how is it that a young person like myself can get involved within the community? Because I think the biggest roadblock for a lot of us is trying to figure out where that starting point is.
John just asked, how can young people get involved? Because the block is how to get started. Is that where I captured your question? I think any of the panelists, why don't we ask each of the panelists to address that?
Ladies first.
Well, thank you. So I think that I can totally relate to that question because in my situation, I wouldn't say it was until it hit me. It wasn't until I had a problem, because prior to, I think I grew up with a family that really kind of wanted me to not be the kind of person that's just at home all the time. So I was being taken to different church events or different community events, et cetera, et cetera. So I was able to network being very young. And networking really helped me, in particular, knowing about situations and learning about situations that I didn't know of before, and just kind of really having mentors there to let me know what it was that I could help with. Whether it was just babysitting, because sometimes babysitting is a very important key element to organizing. If I don't have a babysitter at our community meetings could not happen, right? Sometimes it's interpreting, just coloring with children. So I think that I grew up in that environment where I was put in front of a lot of people that could be my mentors, and I was able to see different areas in the community that I could be of help in. So immigration was my passion. But there's a lot of other different things that you could be involved in. And like I said, it could be in very different ways. And now with the technology it is, just by clicking to sign a petition, that's a way that you can be involved, So yeah, just don't stay at home. Just don't stay home. Just go out there and learn, especially in Memphis. We have so many different awesome organizations that are involved. This is the city of nonprofits. And it doesn't have to be a nonprofit, but I would say just really go out there and investigate and see what it is something that you want to learn, whether it's volunteering at the animal shelter or being part of your church or being part of something else in school. That's what helped me.
One thing we're challenging youth to do, because that's one question that comes up a lot. I'm young, what can I do? If it's just simply being a mentor to somebody that's younger than you, affects a life. I see Mr. Sharif in the back. who taught at my high school. He never taught me, but he was always an inspiration to me because he took care of his family. He was always a man of great integrity. His word was his word. And so you never know what effect you can have on a person. And so within our program, we're challenging young men to be mentors to 13, 14-year-old boys, just to show them and teach them the struggles you've been through. You're not that old, but you've got to where you are now without being shot and killed, and teaching them how to fish, and whatever it is, cut grass. You'll be amazed at the number of kids don't know how to work a lawnmower. And so teaching them those small things help them to grow into manhood. Then we also challenging the youth on Twitter and Facebook. We have a Memphis Gun Down page and also a Twitter account where we asking the youth to promote the movement of Memphis Gun Down. Whether you riding through the city and you see something, either positive or negative, just go ahead and hit it on Twitter so you can get the movement going, get people thinking about putting guns down, because what I deal with in this urban social conflict is gun violence. And so we're just trying to push putting the guns down.
I want to speak just based on my own mistakes, I guess, because when I was first getting into organizing, I switched from business to philosophy and religion, and paying to go to school here. My parents had a cow. But I tried to get involved with everything, and I think that's good if you have time to do it, but it took away from my college life a lot. So if you can focus on, try and find one thing that really needs help and really needs you, that you can feel like you're really invested in, and that always has a new task for you, something challenging to do, and really just invest in that. I got spread out all over the place, and I remember I worked at an after-school program with mostly Latino kids. Some of them were Sureños, and I remember them telling me, "Man, white boy, you don't know where I'm coming from." And I'd be like, "You're right, I don't, but I'm here. Like, you want help with your math or not? Because I need help with mine. But let's do this together." So, but I didn't relate to them. They didn't relate to me. But throughout the years and coming back here, I see them now and I see them grown up. Some of them are still doing that thing, and another one is working with Turk and Gabby, and doing great things with immigration reform and talking to other, Sureños and getting them out whenever they want to get out. So, you never know what kind of impact you can have, even if you don't necessarily relate with the person right off the bat. So, give several things a try. Find that one thing that really needs you, and find that one thing that you really want to go to every day, and stick with it.
How old are you? You don't mind me asking?
19.
Oh, 19. Yeah. Just around the corner. I'll say this. You're in college now, I'm assuming. I'll ask the same question I asked. I used to major in engineering. And I left to go to history. So, find what you're passionate about. And that requires you spending a lot of time with yourself. Get everybody else's voice out of your head. Find what you're passionate about. And then develop the courage to be a servant. Because that requires a lot of courage. And you'll find opportunities just throughout your day to be of service to other people. The guy standing on the corner, somebody needing their books picked up. You'll find opportunities to serve. And there's a soup kitchen downtown that services people with HIV and AIDS. Spend some time there. You have to empty yourself. Just empty yourself. In the sense of empty your own desires to want to just take care of yourself, which sounds like you're doing right now, and just have a desire and the courage to be a servant. And you'll find opportunities, and God will bring you the opportunities to be a servant. It doesn't require a whole lot, just a heart that loves people, and the opportunities will come to you.
you asked an excellent closing question, and you're almost channeling the voice of Jerry Vanderhaar, who probably would have asked the same question, not just of the young people. I'm 73, and I'm still asking the same question. And I think that's what we ask all of you to go home talking about and thinking about, is how can we now, having heard these eloquent voices, but they're more than eloquent. They're clear, they're challenging, and they're precise about what some of the needs are, and asking what we can do with our resources, but even more with ourselves, to support what they do so all of us can have a better community. I want to thank each and every one of the panelists. I want to make a few quick acknowledgments. This event would never be possible without the commitment, dedication, hard work, sometimes cajoling efforts of our chair, Janice Vanderhaar. Janice. And I have to make a special acknowledgement tonight because yesterday was Ed Wallen's 85th birthday. And Janice, I know you. And for all of the steering committee members who are here, sort of give a wave. And for Christian Brothers University for always hosting this with such grace. Now, for all those questions you may not have had to ask, and to give you an opportunity to meet not just the panelists, but our special honorees tonight, all of the student award winners, past and present, you're all invited to the reception for further dialogue and fellowship. Oh, it's immediately upstairs in the Montesi room. Montesi room, correct? Right above us, correct? I'm sorry.
I'd just like to make an announcement since people are here, and this is a great opportunity for the people that are here. This next Tuesday, the 19th, there's a film here in this theater on Tuesday night at 6:30 called Prince Among Slaves. A film and discussion. It's a true story about an African Muslim prince who was captured and sold into slavery in the American South. After 40 years of enslavement, his family regained his freedom, became a national celebrity, and dined in the White House. This part is part of something called Bridging Cultures, Muslim Journeys. It's something that consortium with the University of Memphis, Christian Brothers University, and the Public Library Association. There's several events. This is the one we're hosting next Tuesday night. I think it fits in well what we said tonight about different communities and understanding cultures. It's sponsored by the National Endowment of Humanities, and their purpose is to familiarize the public in the United States with the people, places, history, faith, and cultures of the Muslims in the United States and around the world. So I invite you all here next Tuesday night to come. It's free. It starts at 6:30 here in the Spain Auditorium. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming in. May you all go in peace.